Hi everyone. I wanted to film a video about my cancer experience for a couple reasons. One, to let people get a better insight of what I went through and what it's kind of like to be a cancer patient, and also for people who are going through this same experience to know that they're not alone in the things that they're going through. So last year I was diagnosed with adenoid cystic carcinoma, which is a very rare head and neck cancer. They don't know what causes it. It's a rare form of adenocarcinoma, which begins in glandular tissue, and I had mine in my submandibular salivary gland. And so the first question I always get is, how did you even know that you had cancer? And I didn't know I had cancer. I know I had a hard lump that I had there for at least 5 years that was always sore. It felt like a swollen gland, and it was like tender to the touch, and it was just, a little lump. And I told several doctors, and I got all kinds of different responses. Some people said, oh, your ears aren't draining correctly. Others said it's allergies, just all kinds of different things, which is very common with this type of cancer because it is so rare. It's not on a lot of doctors' radar, so a lot of people are misdiagnosed for a while before they actually figure out that it's cancer. And so finally last year I switched doctors, and my new doctor is amazing, and she took me seriously and told me that we were going to get an ultrasound of it because she was going to check my thyroid as well, because I also have an autoimmune disorder, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And so I got the ultrasound and they saw something. And so they recommended that I get a CT scan of my neck to follow up. And they saw something there, and they also saw something at the top of my chest. So they recommended that I get an ultrasound guided fine needle aspiration biopsy of my neck, and that I had to do another CT scan of my chest to see what was going on there. And adenoid cystic carcinoma is a very slow growing cancer, but it has a very high chance of metastasizing. So I went for the biopsy, and that was not a pleasant experience. That was a very difficult experience. What they do is they find the mass on with ultrasound, and then they stick a needle in there, and they have to kind of, put it in and out, dig around to pull cells out, and they do that several times. So I did the biopsy and I did the CT scan of my chest, and the biopsy came back that there was some cancer cells in there, but they couldn't 100% sure say that it was totally cancer, but that I would need surgery no matter what to have my salivary gland removed. And the CT scan showed that there was some mass in my chest and that I would need to have an MRI to see what it was as well. And so, I was pretty nervous because I might have cancer in two places. So I went and had the surgery, and this is my scar right here from my surgery. And after my surgery, I met with a radiation oncologist and was told that the best form of treatment is radiation, that chemotherapy is not effective with this type of cancer. And so during that time, it's really difficult and it's really overwhelming to figure out that you have cancer, and then to try and decide what the best treatment is. And so my advice for you is, if you have a loved one going through this, it's all about the way you present them with information. So instead of coming off as very forceful and saying this is what you need to do, and it felt very judgmental to me when people would do that to me, kind of saying that the choice I was making to do radiation was a bad choice. And instead of, when people said, hey, I've heard of this treatment, you might want to look into it, I was much more open to it, because it's just so overwhelming. The last thing you need is to feel like people are judging you for decisions that you're making because it's such a scary and stressful time. So after my surgery, I was having trouble with my incision. It wasn't healing. I had to take 3 rounds of antibiotics, and every week I was going to the doctor, and she'd say, okay, you'll start radiation next week. And the next week would come and say, it's closed yet, it can't start. And that kept happening, and that kept happening, and that kept happening. And it was very, very difficult because I felt stuck. I had started a graduate program, and then I was diagnosed, and I tried to go back, but then finding out I had to start radiation, it just was too much. And so I had left school, and I couldn't move forward with my cancer because of my incision, and it was incredibly difficult. And so also in that time, I got the MRI of my chest, and luckily it was just some fatty tissue, but getting the MRI was not fun either. And I actually had to have 2 biopsies. I forgot to mention before my surgery, they made me do another biopsy because before the surgery, they wanted to be sure that it was cancer because that would affect the surgery plan. But they came back the same as before, and so I had my salivary gland removed and several lymph nodes because she tried to biopsy it again during the surgery and still couldn't get a conclusive answer. So it wasn't until she just removed the whole salivary gland and sent it in that I got that final diagnosis. And also the thing about this type of cancer is that it's found in your glands. So like your salivary glands, you have some here, you have some on the side. Some people get them in their lacrimal gland, different places. And so, and it grows into your nerves. So it can be it's very scary. I'm lucky that it seems to have just been in my salivary gland and that it didn't grow into my nerves or anywhere else. So eventually my incision healed and I was able to start radiation. And at first it wasn't too bad. I just felt tired. But what they do is they make this mask of your face. So this is where they were shooting the radiation. And you go in and they put this mask on you and they screw it to the table as the machine rotates around you and basically shoots radiation. And so, like I said, at first it wasn't too bad. It just made me tired, but it's literally burning your skin. And so as time went on, I did that every day for 6 weeks. I started getting ulcers in my mouth, sores in my mouth. I got bumps on my tongue. My skin was all red and swollen. I lost all my taste. I could only taste really sweet things, and it was really painful to talk. Eating became very difficult. I wasn't allowed to eat spicy foods. I couldn't eat hard foods. And eventually I had to start taking pain medicine because it hurt so bad just to swallow water. Like it stung so bad and it was not a pleasant experience. And so I had to take that pain medicine every, 4 hours for about a month, just to be able to eat and make it through the day. And it just was really, really difficult. And the thing about cancer is that it kind of just comes out of nowhere, and that's what I felt like it did for me. So if you're someone struggling or if you have cancer, just know that you're not alone. I felt like cancer took everything from me in an instant. It just changed my whole life just so fast. Like I mentioned, I had to drop out of my graduate program. I wasn't able to work. I was so miserable and tired and in pain. And who's going to hire somebody who's in the middle of their cancer treatment? It just, it wasn't possible. All my goals and hopes and dreams that I was working on at the time were just instantly gone. I couldn't focus on any of those things because I had to worry about cancer. And luckily for me, a lot of the things that cancer took from me, I hope I'll get them back. I should get them back, but you know, it took a big toll on my health. I could barely walk without being tired or out of breath. I'm doing a lot better now, but with radiation, you're still tired after the treatment's over. I had to, you know, take things very slowly. If I overexert myself, some days I still get wiped out the next day. And so it's been a very difficult process. And I feel like for me, I didn't have a great attitude, and I would see a lot of other people going through, you know, probably worse things than me and having a great attitude. But I want other people to know that if you're struggling with cancer, you're struggling, like, it's okay to be sad or angry or upset or question or say, why me? Or, you know, work through those emotions. Like, you're allowed to feel what you need to feel. We're human. We go through hard things and we need to feel it. And I feel that holding on to those emotions just in the long run will make things worse. But as long as you don't get stuck there. And that's kind of what was happening to me. And I realized that from everything I went through, I had developed post-traumatic stress disorder. And with that, the symptom is intense fear and anxiety and irritability and anger and depression. I was having trouble leaving the house. I couldn't leave the house by myself. I could not drive myself anywhere because of I just had such severe anxiety with PTSD. When, for me anyways, when I'm walking around, I'm like hyper vigilant, like looking at every car that goes by me thinking, oh my gosh, they're gonna hit me, or every person that walks by, suspicious of them, wondering what they're gonna do if they're gonna hurt me. And it's because that's what happened with this cancer. It just kind of came out of nowhere and just sideswiped me. And just ordinary tasks became really overwhelming for me, and I couldn't function. Like, I was so full from all the trauma, I couldn't deal with other things. And so I'm getting treatment for that, and I'm doing a lot better. And so I just want people to know, if you're struggling with that too, that you're not alone. And to just remind people to be kind to each other and not judge each other so much, because people around you are probably going through hard things and suffering. You know, when I was going through radiation, and sometimes I'd be in the store and I was just so miserable, and, you know, people just being kind to each other can make a really big difference. And if you've made it to the end of this video, I really appreciate you watching, and I just hope here on out that things only get better for me, and that I can move forward with my life again. But like I said, I want people going through that you're not alone, and I probably will do a follow-up video about my radiation experience and things that really helped me get through that process. So thank you for watching. Bye.